Okay, so let's now take a look at the highlight of the RNC, which was Trump's speech last night. I have to admit, I fell asleep towards the end because all right, it started out pretty strong. And I kind of agree with Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro kind of expressed the same impression that I had. When he stuck to the teleprompter, it was good. Anytime he deviated, it started to get a little weird and boring. Um, I'm not saying it was like a really bad speech or anything. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it just. I think it would have been better if he had stuck to the teleprompter, given a 20 to 30-minute speech, and that would have been it. That would have been much more effective. This was an hour and a half long. And again, an hour and 10 minutes of it was rambling. So we could have condensed it and just gone with the 20 minutes, stuck with the teleprompter, and it would have been an incredible speech. But instead, we just got an okay speech. But it was interesting to hear him recount the experience he went through recently with the shooter. So that was kind of the highlight for me. Other parts, I really just started dozing off. It was just getting kind of boring. But I want to play maybe the first 15 minutes or so where he goes over this situation. And he tells us this is going to be the only time he ever really addresses it. So here it is. If you haven't seen it already, you need to see it now. Here's him talking about the shooter and what it was like that day to go through what he went through.
As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened. And you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. It was a warm, beautiful day in the early evening in Butler Township in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Music was loudly playing, and the campaign was doing really well. I went to the stage, and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. I began speaking very strongly, powerfully, and happily, because I was discussing the great job my administration did on immigration at the southern border. We were very proud of it. Behind me and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. And moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly as very brave Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, and they really did. They rushed to the stage.
YouTube is the #1 site for millions of creators online. But as more people flood to the
time I take off the ad button.
These are great people at great risk, I will tell you, and pounced on top of me so that I would be protected. There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together. The most incredible aspect of what took place on that terrible evening in the fading sun was actually seen later. In almost all cases, as you probably know, and when even a single bullet is fired, just a single bullet, and we had many bullets that were being fired, crowds run for the exits or stampede, but not in this case. It's very unusual. This massive crowd of tens of thousands of people stood by and didn't move an inch. In fact, many of them bravely, but automatically stood up looking for where the sniper would be. They knew immediately it was a sniper, and then began pointing at him. You can see that if you look at the group behind me. That was just a small group compared to what was in front. Nobody ran, and by not stampeding, many lives were saved. But that isn't the reason.
Yeah, that was one of my observations that I initially made as well. I'm surprised that people didn't just start running out like crazy, and that could certainly cause some injuries or deaths.
They didn't move. The reason is that they knew I was in very serious trouble. They saw it. They saw me go down. They saw the blood and thought, actually most did, that I was dead. They knew it was a shot to the head. They saw the blood. And there's an interesting statistic. The ears are the bloodiest part. If something happens with the ears, they bleed more than any other part of the body. For whatever reason, the doctors told me that. I said, why is there so much blood? He said, it's the ears. They bleed more. So we learned something, but they just, this beautiful crowd, they didn't want to leave me. They knew I was in trouble. They didn't want to leave me. And you can see that love written all over their faces. They're incredible people. They're incredible people. Bullets were flying over us, yet I felt serene. But now the Secret Service agents were putting themselves in peril. They were in very dangerous territory. Bullets were flying right over them, missing them by a very small amount of inches. And then it all stopped. Our Secret Service sniper, from a much greater distance and with only one bullet used, took the assassin's life, took him out. I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here.
When it comes to video creation, every detail matters. I go to artlist.io for music.
Thank you. But I'm not. And I'll tell you, I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God. In watching the reports over the last few days, many people say it was a providential moment. Probably was. When I rose surrounded by Secret Service, the crowd was confused because they thought I was dead, and there was great, great sorrow. I could see that on their faces as I looked out. They didn't know I was looking out. They thought it was over. But I could see it. I wanted to do something to let them know I was okay. I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight." Thank you.
Yeah, and that was an interesting moment because, I mean, the sniper wasn't, to his knowledge, entirely taken out, or there could have been others out there. And so for him to get up and do what he did was certainly courageous. So you kind of get the gist. He also definitely spends a lot of time talking about the fireman who was killed. You could kind of see the fireman's suit over there that he wore. They have it brought out there, and he had a good section on that as well. So certainly go and watch the whole thing if you have a moment. But, aside from the part where he talks about that situation, it did kind of get a little boring. And so I kind of feel like if he had just stuck to the script instead of, I don't know, maybe an hour of, off the cuff comments, probably would have been even more effective, but wasn't bad overall. Anyways, wanted to sneak this in there and show it to y'all in case y'all didn't get to see the highlights. Everybody hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Also check me out at patreon.com/Reason and Theology if you appreciate my commentary from a Catholic perspective. All right, we'll see you later. God bless.